Hello artists! For this week's art lesson, we're going to be learning how to draw an owl in a tree. I'm going to start by showing you how to draw the owl step by step in his little hole in the tree. And then we're going to learn how to draw the tree around the owl. And then we're going to see how we can use different types of lines to add visual texture to our picture. Visual texture is when you use lines in a drawing to help create the different textures or how something would feel. For example, we can use the wavy lines to make the feathers on the owl's body, and we can use all different types of bumpy lines to make the rough texture of the bark on the tree trunk, and we can make it a windy day where all the leaves are falling in the fall sky by using some swirls in the background. So we'll go over how we can use different lines in different colors to add texture to our work before we color in our picture completely. What you need for this lesson is you're going to need a white piece of paper, any size will do, a pencil for drawing with an eraser in case you make a mistake. If you'd like to outline your picture before you color, you need a black marker of some sort. Remember, it does not have to be permanent. A regular black marker works just as good. You need some crayons for coloring, and some markers if you choose, and of course colored pencils if you'd like. It's always up to you what materials you pick for coloring in your project. Okay, let's get ready to start our owls. Before we begin drawing our owl, you're going to want to take your white piece of paper and turn it vertical, straight up and down. That way you have enough room to not only fit your owl, but to fit the nice tall tree that the owl is sitting in. Attached to the PowerPoint with the lesson directions, you'll notice that there is a slide that has the step-by-step drawing of the owl. I'm going to be using these steps in the video. I'll go over it one by one, but if you need to see it up close, or if you'd like to print it out and have it next to you, these steps are also in the PowerPoint. So what we're going to do first is we're going to start by making the oval shape where the owl would be in the tree. It's a good idea to start with the oval. That way you know how big your owl has to be, because you'll just draw it inside the shape you already made. So we're going to go to the center of our paper. I'm going to pick a spot to start with, and I'm going to make my little starting spot with a dot. And I'm going to make an oval by going all the way around. Now remember, an oval is a stretched out circle that looks a little bit more like an egg. You can make your oval as big or small as you want. If you want your owl to be smaller, then I would make a smaller oval. If you want your owl to be bigger, then you would make a bigger oval. So this is going to be the hole in the tree trunk where the owl lives. So we're going to start by drawing the owl inside. So I'm going to go into the oval shape a little bit towards the top, and I'm going to start by making a curved line for the top of my owl's head. And I'm going to connect the rest of the body by making a U shape to the other side. Now I left some space and didn't go all the way to the bottom because I'm going to show the feet or the claws of the owl in this example, but the one that I had made before, instead of showing the feet, I decided to make the line touch the bottom of the oval, so it looks like he was more inside of the tree. If you would like to do that and not show his feet, that's perfectly fine. I'm just going to show you both ways. So this would be the way where he would have his claws showing. All right, we're going to give our owl his ears. So we're going to go to the top corners of the head. We're going to make them pointy, almost like a triangle. Once and twice. I like to put a little fur inside the ears, so I'm just going to use a zigzag line. We're going to make curves for the wings on the side of the body. So right about midway, I make a curve that comes down once and twice. I'm going to go right to the center and add a upside down triangle. Remember, a triangle has 3 sides, and that would be the beak of my owl. And I'm going to connect the beak and separate the head from the rest of the body with 2 curved lines. Now owls have nice big round eyes, so above the beak and to the side, we're going to start by making 2 big circles. Inside, I'm going to make a medium circle and then a real small circle. So it goes big, medium, and small. And if you want to, before you forget, take your pencil and we color in the small circle black so we can see it. And it stands out from the rest of the eye. Next up, I'm going to go below and I'm going to add the claws or the feet to my owl. So I'm going to start by making 2 lines, 1 on each side. Then I'm going to make a zigzag, 2, 3, and up. 1, 2, 3, and up. It's almost like the letter W. I'm going to go back to the wings and I'm going to add some curved lines to finish them off so that they stand out from the rest of the owl's body. And I'm going to add some wavy lines to make it look like the feathers on the owl's stomach. Remember, wavy lines, they look like the waves in the ocean. They just bend and curve. And that's that. Okay. Now, if you wanted to, you could add just a little piece of branch for the owl to be standing on, or you could just leave it the way it was. Now, because the owl is inside of the tree, we're going to color the rest of the oval black later on, and the owl will stand out even more. Now that the owl is done, we can draw the tree around him. So we're going to start at the bottom of the paper, and we're going to start by making 2 lines that go vertical up towards the top. So I'm going to go down to the bottom. And remember, a tree does not have to be completely straight. They're often very bumpy and rough. So it's okay if my line is a little bumpy and rough too. I'm going to stop though before I reach the top. Go over to the other side and do the same thing. Now I have a choice. I could make these lines go straight to the top and that would just finish off the trunk of my tree. Or if I want to expand them so that it starts to look like branches, I'm going to curve it out to the edges of my paper. And then I'm going to go to the center and I'm going to make the letter V. And now my tree trunk has gone off into 2 bigger branches up top. I could also make some branches along the sides of my tree. I'm going to start with a straight line. Remember, they don't have to be straight across. They could be on an angle. I come back one more time to make them thicker. And then at the edges, I can come off of those lines and make smaller ones. Almost like the letter Y. And I could even make smaller ones on the side. Branches come in all different shapes and sizes. Notice I'm leaving the ends open because I'm going to put some leaves at the end of the branches, and it's easier for me to draw them if I haven't closed the branches yet. Okay, so I have the tree trunk, I have tree branches, and now I can add leaves. So real easy leaves. I'm just gonna make some ovals, and I make the line in the center, and we can color them all different colors. Maybe we'll make them fall colors later on. If you have a different way to make leaves, go right ahead. I'm just gonna do the easiest version to start by making ovals. Remember, ovals, a stretched out circle, just like the oval we started with when we made the hole in the tree for our owl to live. And you can make as many leaves as you want and fill up your tree. In fact, since it's a fall day in our picture, we could even make leaves that are falling off of the tree. You can even make some that are falling off the tree. Maybe they're coming onto the ground. You can even add extra lines if you wanted. And if you wanted to, up top, you have a choice. You can leave it just the branches, or if you want to show the very top of the tree leaves, you can kind of just make a wavy line where the top of the tree would start, and we can add color to that later on. It's up to you if you want to start to see the leaves or if you'd rather just leave it as the branches of the tree. Okay, this gives us the basic drawing of our owl and the tree that our owl is living in. I'm going to now switch to some different colors. I'm going to use markers, but crayons work perfectly fine, so do colored pencils. And we're going to use those colors so that we can add some lines for visual texture to our picture to make it look even more realistic before we begin our coloring. So go grab your art materials and let's get started on the visual texture. Okay, I'm going to use markers to make my texture lines because I like to use markers to draw the lines and then crayons to color over them and complete the picture. But if you have crayons, they work perfectly fine. So do colored pencils. If you're going to use crayons or colored pencils, you may just want to press a little bit harder with them so that the lines are a little brighter and they stand out in your picture a little more. Now, before I forget to do anything, I'm going to take a black crayon or marker and I'm going to actually color the space inside the oval around my owl so that I don't forget. Remember, this is the hollow part of the tree that the owl is living in, where it's made its nest. So it would be dark, which is why we are coloring it in black. Notice when I'm coloring, I'm going around my owl first so that I don't go inside of the picture because I don't want to ruin it. It's always a good idea when you color to kind of go around the edge first so that you make yourself a nice outline, and then it's easier for you to stay inside the lines. Remember, markers are good for small details in small spaces, and crayons are bigger spaces, easier to fill in. Okay, so now I have the black space around my owl, and my owl stands out. I can go color my owl in later. Right now, we just want to worry about adding some texture lines. So I'm going to switch to a brown because I want to use brown to make the rough lines for the bark of the tree. So if you've ever seen tree bark up close, you'll notice that it's very rough and bumpy, and it usually has lines in it. Some of them are straight, some of them are wavy. Some of them kind of swirl a little bit. So we're going to use those to make the texture of our tree. You can make them all different lengths. They don't have to be perfectly straight. In fact, they should curve a little bit and twist. Tree bark is also rough, so I can use little dots, like a dotted line, to resemble the bumps on the bark. And when I finish the tree trunk, I could put some of those bumps and lines on the branches too. Okay. Now that I have the tree done, I can pick a green or a different fall color, or maybe a little bit of both. And I'm gonna make some of the lines up top so that it looks like the leaves in the tree. So I'm just going to take my green and just make little dashes just to give the illusion of the leaves filling in the top of the tree. If you didn't make the top of the tree, then you don't have to worry about this part. If you want to make it more fall colors, you could always switch the green to something else like orange or red or yellow, or maybe a little bit of every color. All the trees are changing colors right now. So they're not just green, they have orange and yellow and red and brown. So you could add that to your tree too. And if you wanted to, you could even use the markers to color in your leaves because they're small, and you could make them all the fall colors. Works just as well with crayons too. Okay. I want this to be a windy fall night because owls, they come out at night. So I'm going to pick a nighttime color like blue or purple or black, and I'm gonna add some swirls to the sky so that it looks like wind. I'm gonna start with blue, and I'm gonna add some swirls. Remember, a swirl is a line that goes around and around. You can make some of them longer and shorter. We use swirl lines so that it looks like there's wind in the sky. It gives the illusion of movement in your picture. I could always switch to a different color and do more than one type of swirl. Maybe I also put some purple in there. I could add some purple in different places, or maybe around the blue swirls that I just made. It's up to you. Visual texture lines are an awesome way to make your picture look even more realistic. It adds more color, it adds more detail, and it makes your work look even better than it did when it was just a drawing. Okay, so now that I have my texture lines drawn, I could use my crayons and colored pencils and markers and finish coloring in my picture. What I did for mine was after I used the markers to draw the lines, I switched to crayons and I colored right on top of the markers, and you could see the lines that shine through. If you don't have markers and you're just using crayons, just color a little bit lighter up top so that way you could still see the lines that you made before you began to color. It is a great idea to pick your colors before you begin, especially for your owl. Your owl can be whatever colors you want them to be. Just make sure that you make the eyes and the beak a different color so that they stand out from the rest of the owl's body. If you wanted to add some stars to the sky so it looks more like nighttime, of course you can do that. It's your choice. Take your time with your coloring and with your work. Now, I know you guys start your lessons during your scheduled art time during the week, and I know that's only 30 minutes. You do not have to finish your project in that short amount of time. You can always start it then and come back to it and finish it later on. I put the lessons up on Mondays, and they're up for an entire week. So you have lots of days that you can work on your project. There is no need for you to rush or to hand in anything that is half colored or half complete. You can always do a little bit every day, or just maybe do the drawing at one point and then color another time, or maybe color a little bit for a few minutes each day. That's fine with me. You have lots of days to do your work and lots of chances to work on it. I don't want you to rush to get it done. So, your choice what you want to use to color: crayons, markers, colored pencils, a little bit of everything. That's always great. Take your time with your work. I can't wait to see what your owls look like when they're done.